Check, please. It's like 1:30 in the morning. I don't know why I have this much energy. We're going to use it. Obviously, you've read the title by this point. Today's subject is going to be small CMC cards, and I'm going to consider that 2 CMC or under for this video that just warp the early game around them. Just absolute powerhouses. So I reached out to some of my close friends over at the local game store and also over on Discord to suggest some of their favorite small CMC cards that, you know, can absolutely take over a game. So those are on here, as well as, of course, my favorite low CMC ones that can take over games. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, comment, do all that stuff, and let's get into it. So the first one I want to talk about is Ripples of Undeath. This is a card I knew was like super strong since it dropped. But after using it in my $50 Budget League Myco Tyrant deck, this thing's disgusting. It might have my vote for the strongest card of last year. That might be a little over the top, but like filling your graveyard, getting curated card draw for 2 mana every single pre-combat main. For 2 mana, this thing seriously felt similar to Sylvan Library when I was playing it, and that was in a $50 budget league as well, so this thing just felt disgusting during those games. I think what really defines like a really great card is like, what does it do at its worst, and like if that is still awesome, it's probably a really good card. Ripples of Undeath at its worst will just fill your graveyard 3 cards on your pre-combat main for 2 mana. It's a really good going rate. The second worst would be that it guarantees you hit your land drops, because you can just pick the land that you're probably going to hit off the mill 3. And, you know, hitting your land drops is like the strongest thing you can do. This thing's in Tazri. This thing's in Myco Tyrant. This thing's in Goshinte. It's my favorite card. Speaking of one of my favorites from last year, we've got Springheart and Tuco on the list, and I don't want to talk about this too much because I've talked about it in a lot of my videos, so we'll go through it quickly. A 2 mana 1/1 that turns all of your lands into a 1/1 insect is really strong. That is incredibly powerful in like a lot of decks. But the fact that that card can also bestow, give that creature 1/1, and then every time you play a land, pay 1 and a green, copy the creature it's bestowed on. I got one of these on Herald of the Pantheon. I turn 2'd Herald of the Pantheon into turn 3 Springheart bestow, play a land, make a copy of Herald of the Pantheon. Yeah, my enchantments cost nothing. I was gaining like upwards of like 10, 11 life every time I cast something. You want to take over your early game with this thing? Copy a Blood Artist. You want to take over your mid and late game? Copy a Rotten Mouth Viper. It's very gross. Shout out to Professor Chubb over on the Discord who recommended Sarah's Ascendant, which I couldn't agree more with. A 1-drop 6/6 flying lifelink. That might win you the game. That might up your chances of winning the game drastically higher than anyone else's. This is a classic case of wasn't designed with Commander in mind when it was printed. It was printed with 20 life formats in mind. This thing is a day 1 OG Commander powerhouse. The second Commander started being a thing, Sarah's Ascendant was immediately in everyone's deck. I mean, a 12 life difference when you swing 1 time with a 1-drop, that's pretty drastic. Continuing the trend of Discord suggestions, we got Milkshake, who says that Senseis Divining Top is definitely a low CMC game warping card. And I totally agree. 1 mana for an artifact that you can then pay 1 mana to rearrange your top 3 cards whenever you want, or just tap it to draw a card and then put the top back on top of your library. You could see how having access to both of those, especially the fixing the top 3 of your library, is incredibly powerful. Like if you're in Yuriko or maybe Hidetsugu, any decks that care about the top of your library, really gross. Milkshake also has an honorable mention of Skull Clamp, which didn't quite make the list because it does require some tokens and some outside sources, but nonetheless, incredibly strong card. Thanks a lot, Milkshake. Now, the next one might be a strange one, but I think Razerkin Needlehead is definitely a low CMC game warping card. 2 red to make all your opponents take a damage when they draw a card. We're all playing Commander, right? Yeah, they're going to be drawing cards. A lot of them. That's actually what makes a lot of these cards on the Game Changers list Game Changers, is they let you draw a lot of cards. Not to even mention give this thing lifelink, because it does damage when the opponents draw cards, then you'll be gaining a bunch of life when they draw cards. This goes in your group slug decks like Xancha, into your wheel decks like Nekusar. Have a blast. I think even outside of those decks, just dropping one of these will do some pretty significant damage to your opponents. So pretty much on the exact same note as Senseis Divining Top, so we won't really talk about it a whole lot. Scroll Rack is an incredibly powerful game warping low CMC artifact. Being able to ditch your hand and then replace it with that many cards off top and then put your old hand back on top. Again, incredibly useful for top of library decks like Hidden Zugu. Also pairs really nicely with like shuffle effects. If you want to pair this with like a sack land, you can ditch a hand that you didn't want to see at all more permanently. Again, similar vein as Senseis Divining top. Fantastic card. Dothy Voidwalker is another one of my favorites that definitely makes this list. Also saw a price drop with the Tarkir Dragonstorm precons, which is awesome. 2 black to absolutely shut off any graveyard deck because cards now get exiled with void counters on them instead of hitting grave. You can then like sack Dothy to play anything with a void counter on it for free. And yeah, I said sack. It's not exile. This 100% should be exile. It's not for some reason. So if you're running like a Reanimator deck or my favorite card ever, Sun Titan, this goes insane with that because you just get a reusable Dothy. The cards stay exiled with void counters on them. So when you return Dothy, get to cracking. Moving on to Dom over on the Discord suggestion of Ledger Shredder, which 100% makes the list, being a 1/3 for 1 and a blue with flying that whenever a player casts their second spell, Ledger Shredder connives. Yeah, once you like actually say out loud all the different things this thing does, it's pretty nuts for 2 mana. Makes a huge flyer with the 1/1 counters, fills your graveyard, curates your hand for 2 mana for the game just happening. People are gonna play 2 spells. Yeah, this one's good, Dom. I like this one. In the new Lotus precon, if you picked up the new Sultai Arisen precon deck from Tarkir Dragonstorm, this would be a great upgrade piece for that, so there's that. Dom also had an honorable mention of Gala Greeters, which again I think requires some more outside pieces to get it going, but I do agree is an incredibly powerful early game card. So is Esper Sentinel. I am literally not going to talk about this card very much at all. We all know how strong it is. 1 white for an artifact creature interacts with artifact decks that lets you draw a card whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell and doesn't pay 1. That sounds familiar. I think we know how good cards like this are. Don't really need to say much. This is one that I think might get some backlash from you guys, but I still think Bitter Blossom is one of the most powerful cards ever printed. For 2 mana, being able to get the best token in the game, which is a 1/1 flyer, because not only can you attack with them, you can block with them. They have flying, so they block anything, or they attack way more evasively. This is one of the only cards I regret trading, man. I like really need to get one of these back because I really like it. It's good in token decks, it's good in enchantment decks, pillow fort decks, fairy decks. Not to even mention its interaction with stuff like Skull Clamp or Ashnod's Altar. Not as expensive as it used to be. Kind of bargain bin, still nuts. Moving on to Lotho Corrupt Sheriff. Yeah, a black and a white for a thing that makes you treasures every time someone plays their second spell. We've talked about this type of effect with Ledger Shredder. Just replace the card draw and grave fill that Ledger Shredder provides with creating a treasure token. One of the most powerful tokens, if not the most powerful token in Magic. I think that's pretty good, especially since the treasures will up the likelihood of you yourself casting your second card. Not much to say. Treasures are overpowered. Moving on to Grayson over on the Discord suggestion of Collector Oof, which is a 2-green bear that just shuts off all artifacts' activated abilities, which, yeah, that's absolutely going to warp the game. Your treasures, your foods, your clues, your blood, none of those work. Your Ashnod's Altar doesn't work. Skull Clamp equip, can't do it. This seems like the perfect time to point out that a lot of the response to this question of what people thought were low CMC game warping cards that weren't on the Game Changers list, a lot of the responses were Stacks pieces in general are OP, which goes to show why playing against Stacks decks is such a pain, because most all of them are low CMC cards and they just shut off mechanics from being used entirely. So I totally agree. Collector Oof seemed like a great way to highlight how annoying that can be. Message received, Grayson. Moving on to Boss Ross's suggestion from Discord of Grand Abolisher, which fits all the same requirements of Collector Oof in a whole different package. The difference with this one is it prevents people from playing or activating stuff during your turn, which I, for one, don't think is that oppressive of a Stacks piece. Of course, if you're trying to combo, sure. I mean, like, it's annoying to have to watch somebody combo, whatever. But in casual Commander, I think Grand Abolisher should see a ton of play. If you're like a Timmy player, dude, You don't want people playing stuff during your turn. Same reason I run Kutzel, exact same reason I'd run Grand Abolisher. Absolutely disgusting card. Why it's on this list, though, is because it's going to be alongside, like, Grand Arbiter and, like, Crawl Space, and it's going to be like, this kind of sucks. Find a way to protect this dude, and don't worry about anything happening to you, ever. Also, the art is so cool. He's wearing a cactus coat with a wolf hat. Freaking tripped out. To run the risk of sounding repetitive, getting powerful effects for a card just existing and the game just happening is incredibly strong, and what makes a lot of these cards the powerhouses that they are. Poliwog Prodigy, no different. 2-mana 1/3 that evolves and then draws you a card whenever anybody plays a non-creature spell with CMC less than its power. Yeah, there's no pay mana. There's no get out of it. If they played something that's less than this, you draw. So when you play this early game, all of those ponders, all those ops, all those soul rings, they're going to draw you a card. And when it scales into the late game and the mid game, it's still going to draw you cards. This card is perfect. It scales. It keeps drawing you cards. It itself gets bigger. It's cheap, low investment, big rewards. So moving on, as a graveyard player, it pains me to say that I've never played with Life from the Loam. And, oh my god, it's insane. Starting turn 2, you get to absolutely start milling through your deck at the speed of sound, while also guaranteeing almost you hit every land drop every turn. Absolutely disgusting. This is in Myco Tyrant. This is in Tazri. This is in Goshinte. It was also in the Sultai Precon. Can't talk enough about that thing. So the price of this thing is at an all-time low. Actually, one of the strongest Magic cards ever printed. If you're in a graveyard deck, pick it up immediately, put it in. It is fantastic. And finally, ending things off, we got Bristly Bill Spine Sower. This is actually one I've never played with or against, and I understand immediately how insane this card is. For 2 mana, you just get a bear that gives 1/1 counters when you play a land. And you might say, doesn't that require something else? It can give +1/+1 counters to itself. It doesn't have to be something else. It itself can just get huge. Or you can buff everything. Or it in something else. Or a few things. And it also has the ability to double all your 1/1 counters. So it's cheap. It buffs your entire board. It's go wide and it's go tall at the exact same time. It's a game ender. It's a mana sink because it doesn't say you can only activate the double the counters once. You can do it as many times as you want. And not only should it show you how gross this effect is, it should also show you how good Springheart and Tuco is, because this is so powerful as it's just adding 1 power at a rate that is just so good that it's hard to keep up with. Springheart and Tuco provides power at the exact same rate. It provides 1 power per land, except you can also copy other stuff. But Springheart and Tuco is incredibly cheap. It's like $3 or $4. Bristly Bill is like $50. So there's a difference there. They really just both go to show how powerful each other are. Bristly Bill is an incredible card, just like all these other ones on this list. And if you agree, leave a like, subscribe, comment. If you liked this content, let me know why. If there's some stuff you want to see, that is genuinely very interesting to me. That's something I'd like to hear from my community. So if there's some videos that you would like me to start making, some ideas that you guys have, please do not hesitate to comment them. We're going to be doing deck review live streams on Fridays again. So if you want to hop in on Fridays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., we're going to be doing deck review live streams again. I am working on the $50 Budget League video. It's one of the biggest videos I've ever worked on, if not the biggest consecutive video I've ever worked on. So get ready for that. So that's been really exciting. If you want to show some additional support like the people on screen, consider checking out the Patreon. The Patreon link is down in the description and in the comments, along with a link to my TCG Player affiliate link if you want to order any of the cards you saw on today's video, both of which help me out a ton. I really do appreciate the hell out of you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.